All right, some news out of the Northeast tonight. Harvard University suing the Trump administration over its federal funding cuts. Harvard seeking to halt the recent $2.2 billion funding freeze by the federal government. It comes a day after the Trump administration reportedly planned to cut another $1 billion in federal grants and contracts to Harvard. Now, the lawsuit accuses the Trump administration of violating its First Amendment rights, alleging the government's withholding of federal funding as, quote, leverage to gain control of academic decision-making at the school. Now, the Trump administration, of course, takes issue with the university's handling of anti-Semitism on campus. Recently made a list of demands as well, ordering Harvard to fix the problem or lose federal funds. With me now, NewsNation contributor Jesse Weber. Erin Maguir is a Republican strategist. Dan Kanninen, former Battleground State Director for the Biden-Harris campaigns. All right, I'll get to you both here in a second. But first, Jesse, this is a 50-something page lawsuit. You've looked through it. What's Harvard asking for?
So they are making a number of arguments. First, they say this is unconstitutional, what the Trump administration is doing, that the restrictions or the conditions they're placing on federal funding are viewpoint-based or content-based, impermissible conditions, and that's a violation of the First Amendment. Second, they said this is a violation of federal administrative law. Basically, an agency can't withhold funding for some arbitrary reason. And I know the Trump administration is saying that it's because they didn't do enough to address harassment against Jewish students, but they don't believe it. And by the way, let me just add this. You know, the Trump administration will say, we have a right to do this because the Harvard's in violation of the Civil Rights Act, Title VI. They haven't done enough to address harassment against Jewish students. But even if that's true, the administration would first have to provide notice to Harvard that there's a violation, give them an opportunity to fix it. And Harvard says none of that was ever done.
All right. So, Erin, having just heard that from Jesse, what about if I were to say to you, this is as a conservative, you good with the federal government telling a private company, I guess in this case, Harvard, what they can and should not do?
If it comes at the taxpayer dollar to them that they are not absolutely entitled to, absolutely. This is taxpayer money going to an institution that after the October 7th Hamas terrorist attacks on Israeli citizens, had 31 student organizations put out a letter saying that it was Israel's fault. Imagine being a Jewish student on campus knowing that there are people who believe Israel deserved to have October 7th happen to them. The administration is going to be aggressive, especially against universities that sit on untaxed endowments, billions of dollars in their own money that they can use however they choose. So instead of making this the taxpayers' issues, if they want to continue to not support Jewish students in their communities, if they want to not make sure that students are safe, then they shouldn't be allowed to have taxpayer money. That's what they're arguing.
What about to what Erin said? Barack Obama, the former president, basically made this exact same argument the other day, Dan, in his first public appearance, saying, if you want to fight back, use the endowment money. They've got $50 billion of endowment funds. Why do they need the federal government to be handing all this out?
I think he's making a different point, Blake. He's not saying that there's no role for the federal government to have a partnership with institutions on research, life-saving cancer research, for example. What he's saying is, don't do what Columbia did and just cave. You have resources, you have a posture, you got the law on your side. Jesse's right. There's in Title VI and in the First Amendment. They have a great standing in this case. Barack Obama is saying, push back, fight back, use your endowment to do that. But to Erin's point, I just want to say on the value of this, we're not just giving them taxpayer money. The National Institute of Health is funding most of this research is being cut or threatened to be cut that Trump is dangling here, that goes to tuberculosis research, cancer research, immunotherapy that saves lives. Most of the cancer treatments now weren't even around 10 years ago. They're saving lives as we speak.
So let's have that conversation. The research that's being done is important, but universities do not get to have taxpayer dollars at their free expense for whatever they wish to do. If these universities, this is what the administration will argue, if they are doing things that continue to violate the civil liberties and rights of students, if we want to talk about the First Amendment and protecting things, here's the thing. These universities, they are doing great research. It's important that there is a partnership here. But they cannot expect funds freewheeling in this fashion.
Hey, Jesse, I got to run, but give me a percentage chance that this ends up at the Supreme Court.
Well, there's a chance. I mean, right now it's in front of a court to determine whether there should be an immediate halt to stopping the funding and allowing it to go through. But then it might make its way to the Supreme Court. Sure, there are federal issues that are ripe for it to consider. And Erin and Dan, I mean, those arguments, we might see those play out in front of the Supreme Court, too.
As the administration often says, we'll see what happens. We'll leave it there. Jesse, Erin, Dan, thank you. Appreciate it. Thank you for watching, and make sure you go to joinnn.com to find NewsNation on your television provider.
And don't forget to click the red subscribe button below to get more of NewsNation's fact-driven, unbiased coverage.